Good morning, good afternoon. Hola, hola. Thanks for tuning in. Welcome. So we've got a few fun topics for you today, and we're going to have just a bit of fun down here today. Where's our topics? Here we go. Okay, so we've got some some interesting stuff today. A lot of cruising related stuff. But also, I'm curious. So, my question for you today is, what is the craziest thing that you've eaten on vacation that you never would have eaten at home? So, jot that down in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. I know I have certainly had some pretty crazy stuff from all of my travels. Definitely some weird meats and stuff in in the UK and in actually in Namibia. Ostrich steak, never would have thought that. No, it was calamari steak, ostrich eggs. But the craziest thing was not like kind of gross, weird, well, a little bit gross. The craziest thing that I've ever eaten was not by choice, sort of. Basically, I was staying at the Hyatt Ziva Riviera Cancun, and they had a Mexican night, and so they were doing a bunch of different treats and stuff. And of course, they had churros, which everybody loves. And of course, the latest craze is stuffed churros, which are absolutely delightful. But they had another station, and it was for something called a marquesita. And I've done a whole separate video on this. So, I'm filming these guys kind of like, oh, let me show you what kind of things they do at the resort. And meanwhile, the guy's making up this thing, and it's like a crepe. But he cooks it for a super long time. And so crepe, obviously being like a super thin pancake, and cooks it up. And then he smears some Nutella in it, which of course, is like a hazelnut spread, sort of chocolatey tasting. And then he puts some Parmesan cheese on it. And I'm like, okay, this is weird, cheese and chocolate, not so much of a good combination. And he folds it up, cooks it a little bit longer so it's nice and crispy. And then he hands it to me. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm not going to be rude, of course. So I take it. And I'm just expecting my mouth to just revolt. It was actually really good. It was really tasty, a very bizarre combination of flavors. But I highly recommend that you try these. The marquesitas, they originated in the Merida region, if I've got that correct. Basically, what happened was it was a fellow who was doing, he had an ice cream cart, and it was a particularly cold year, probably January. January is always seems to be the coldest time of year in Cancun, Mayan Riviera area. And like I said, normally he sold ice cream with the waffle cones, which is essentially the same thing as how you make a crepe. And what happened is I guess he decided to experiment a little bit and make something hot. And so he came up with this combination. And they do have different flavors that you can get. I have seen them in Puerto Vallarta on the Malecon, and they actually do like a pizza style one. So you've got tomato sauce and some pepperoni and cheese in there. And honestly, like being able to walk with a stick of pizza, life doesn't really get much better than this, right? But they also do sweet ones. So you can sort of go from the sweet crepe to like this now crepe crispy version, and it literally is so crispy that you can hold it like it's a pen, and it's not going to fold or flop around on you. But crispy, savory. So I highly recommend you try those. But let me know what's the weirdest thing that you've ever eaten. I am very curious to hear. So let's go ahead and get started today. So our first topic is, so there's a lot of stuff that's been happening this week with cruise ships, and we are going to talk about the tragedy that unfolded in Baltimore yesterday morning. But let's talk about Panama for a second. So this is going to affect a good portion of North America, and it may even affect some of the Alaska cruise ship runs. What's happening is the lake that helps to fill the water in the Panama Canal, to help fill the channels, I guess you call them. The lake is really low because they just haven't had that much rainfall this year. And so consequently, they're having to limit the amount of traffic. They've already limited the size of certain ships that can go through because of the drought that they experienced. But now they're also restricting certain vessels from going through. So not only is this going to obviously affect shipping, like, what was it, 3 years ago, we had the Suez Canal issue. Yeah, this is going to affect that. So there's a lot of Panama Canal cruises that are being rerouted. And a lot of these are at the end of a, like a mega cruise, like a 32-day or a 50-odd day cruise. So you can imagine expecting to finish up in Fort Lauderdale or in LA or Vancouver and being diverted to only one side of the canal and having to sort of create a new itinerary there. So that's going to affect things. Also, a lot of the cruise ships that sit in the Caribbean in the winter, some of them do come around through the Panama Canal and then up the West Coast to where they would begin the Alaska sailings. It's difficult to say whether there'll be any delays. I know for example, Holland America, the Konings Dam and the Zan Dam, they're on the Mexican Mexican Riviera, so Puerto Vallarta, Mazatlan, Cabo. So those aren't going to be affected, but we shall see how this impacts things. But as long as until they get a bunch of water in there, and they are working on some alternate solutions. But until they can get some more water in there, that's going to continue to be a problem. Okay, moving on to Baltimore. When I woke up yesterday morning, and this actually, the crash that took out the Baltimore Bridge, that actually happened at 10:30 p.m. Monday night Pacific time, or 1:30 in the morning Eastern time. And when I woke up, I just happened to open Facebook first thing, and I saw a video of it. And I hadn't read the news. I didn't know what to expect. It just said something about this video explains what happened a bit better. And I watched it through, and I'm sure you've all seen the video. It's staggering, shocking, tragic. And this is going to really have an impact on that port. Now, Baltimore's, I think, 14th in North America in terms of how much traffic it gets or containers it has coming through. But nonetheless, it is still going to affect things. But also, it's going to affect the cruises. There were several cruises that were scheduled to depart from Baltimore. In fact, there's a Carnival ship out there right now, which is it's out sailing, and it's meant to go back to Baltimore on the 31st. What they're doing is they're diverting this to Norfolk, Virginia. And I believe that Carnival has said it's going to cost them somewhere around $10 million in costs to reroute the vessels into Norfolk instead of Baltimore, because obviously the cruise ship port is going to be closed for who knows how long. Apparently, President Biden has said that they are going to put as much money as they can into getting it rebuilt, but it's just going to take time. So that is going to have an effect on things. So on the positive side, you might see some discounted cruises out of Norfolk because people maybe don't want to change where they're departing from, because these will be round trip Norfolk instead of previously round trip Baltimore. Incidentally, the people who are on that cruise that are going to be coming back, but into Norfolk instead of Baltimore, Carnival is sending them on a free bus up to Baltimore. Just a quick 4-hour journey. So, I mean, they're looking after them. They're taking care of it. But this is why when you book stuff, you want to make sure that you've built in wiggle room. If you are using a travel agent, they will already be doing this sort of thing. But this is why we do stuff like this, so that if when stuff doesn't go as planned, it's fine if you make plans for stuff, but when things go sideways, you got a deal. So yeah, so that's what's happening in with cruising and Baltimore and Norfolk today, or these days. And who knows, this is for the foreseeable future. There's absolutely been no dates announced that I've heard of when things will change. But I'm going to throw this up there again. Nobody said anything. What's the craziest thing that you've eaten on vacation that you never, ever would have eaten at home? Let me know. Especially if you've been to like Asia and had some bugs or something like that. I mean, probably we've all been to Mexico and had the, what do they call it? The cockroach dust or whatever that they put when you're having mezcal. I passed. Might have been safe, might have been salty, savory, tasty. I don't know, but no, that was a hard no for me. But do let me know what's the craziest thing you've eaten. I am very curious to hear. Okay, moving on. So France has moved up their security levels after the attack that was the Islamic State took responsibility for it. But in light of the Olympics, which are coming up July 26th through August 11th, they've stepped up their security level and raised it to its highest level, in fact. So I don't know, like for me, I've never been to France. I would love to go to France, especially after watching Emily in Paris. It was kind of on my list before that show. And then when I watched the show, all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, I seriously have to go here. They did some really good job on the cinematography in that show and really showcased the beauty of Paris. And there's another season coming up, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, the security level has been raised in France. So I don't know, does that make you rethink going there? Also, you should double check on your travel insurance if that has an impact, because for certain countries, when the security level has been raised, that can actually nullify your travel insurance. So just be aware of that. If you've got a trip booked, double check your insurance. And while I'm on that note, I did post today in the community tab, there's a lot of you that are going to be in Cancun in the very near future. Two of you, Brad and Christine, are both going to be there when I'm in Cancun. Brad's going to be down in Playa del Carmen at the Rio Palace, Mexico. Lucky guy. And I'm going to try to hook up with Christine. I think that'll be a lot of fun, especially because her and I both have a general disdain for open concept bathrooms. And I'm curious to see what the bathrooms will be like at the brand new Hyatt Vivid Grand Island, which is just going to be opening in a few days from now. So it'd be really interesting to see that. So do stay tuned. If you want a lot of behind the scenes information and videos and stuff like that, consider joining up to the channel as a channel member. With this, you get exclusive access and early access to certain videos, as well as exclusive content and stuff like that. So it's just another way for you to enjoy a little bit more of the channel. And especially when I'm away, when I'm on a trip, or if I'm the Norwegian Bliss is coming into town, into Vancouver here in about next Thursday, I believe it is. So I'm going to go down and film that. I was hoping to get on board and do a ship tour, but there's some complications with that. So I won't be able to see that, but I will be taking some videos and doing some photos just to show you by comparison, like how massive this ship is. This ship only comes in once a year, and it only comes in at specific times, and that's low tide. because it is such a large ship that it will literally, because we don't want it to do a little whoopsie like that container ship did in Baltimore. It does have to pass under the Lionsgate Bridge in Vancouver, and the Lionsgate Bridge is old, and so it's not super tall. So consequently, we can't get a lot of the really big ships in because it is so tricky for them to pass underneath the bridge. So this one does come in, it comes in once, it stays, I think it stays overnight, and then it moves up to Seattle, where it will begin its Alaska runs. And because, yeah, it's almost Alaska cruise season. And we're going to talk about that in a second. And so, yeah, it's a massive ship, but I'm curious to see it, and it'll be fun to see it in downtown Vancouver. So looking forward to that. Okay, moving on to our final topic of the day is I've got a video coming out tomorrow. Fingers crossed, editing goes well. You can now cruise on travel agent rates effectively. And I mean, we're talking as low as $49 US per person per day, single or double, no single supplement. So this is a massive, massive potential win for you. It is putting you on a standby list. Okay, so there's that caveat. If you live in Calgary, this is not for you. This is for people who live in Vancouver, Seattle, Fort Lauderdale, Miami, LA, any of those, like North America. But if you live in or nearby a port city, then this is a huge opportunity for you to be able to get an insane deal. I mean, there is no cruise up to Alaska round trip that you could find for that price. Like, doesn't exist. So this is a huge opportunity. So I am going to have a full video of that coming out tomorrow. Fingers crossed. So stay tuned for that. But I just wanted to give you a heads up to make you aware that that is coming. And if you are enjoying this video or any of my other videos, please consider giving it a thumbs up. All you have to do is just click that little thumbs up button, and it really helps out the channel. If you subscribe, then you will also be able to see all the new videos that are coming out. If you hit the notification button, the bell, then you will get notified. So you'll just get a little, alert on your phone whenever a new video comes out. So you're not going to be missing out on anything. And we had some really fun responses last week to where are you going next? And I know a lot of you won't be watching right now, but you'll watch it later on. So for those of you who do, again, would love to hear what's the craziest thing that you've eaten on vacation that you never would have eaten at home. So let's see what kind of responses we can get on that one. So with that, we're going to wrap it up. It's a pretty short show today, but fortunately, not too much is happening in the travel world. And look, we're into spring break. So probably half of you are on vacation anyways, probably enjoying Mexico, probably enjoying a beer, a cocktail, and enjoying that wonderful sand and that wonderful, wonderful view. 1 month's time, I'm going to be in Cancun. So do stay tuned for that. And I'll have lots of videos for you. But let me know if there's anything in particular that you want me to check out. I'm really tempted to check out the Mayan train and head down to Playa del Carmen. One of my good friend and colleague, he did this about a week ago. And I did talk about it last week, but it's basically like about $16 each way, and just a really nice way to travel and fast, and really avoids all the traffic and congestion. So if you are planning on staying somewhere in the Playa del Carmen area, maybe that's something to consider, is basically hop on the train and travel that way instead of getting a shuttle or a taxi and trying to fight traffic, because there is still some issues with the traffic in that area. So thanks for tuning in today, guys. Really appreciate you joining in, taking some time out of your day to tune in. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos. And we'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.